and let us all do we can to build a better future.
2024 as being, oh, you're just helping out Trump hard lens media. Why don't you just fall in line and vote blue? Oh, you've always been a conservative. Oh, I hate those the most. Listen, there is nothing vote blue no matter who, or the quote-unquote progressives who built a career around pumping up Bernie Sanders and AOC can do to convince me to help them out. The Democrats abandoned their base. The Democrats made promise. Bernie made promises. AOC made promises. And all what they did was just put a fresh coat of paint over the Democratic Party. The Democrats will never fight for Medicare for all. They're not going to do anything about student debt. You got to come to terms with this, everyone. They're not going to do it. And no, this is not an endorsement of Republicans or Trump. This is me being real and honest with all of you. The evidence is right in front of you. So until everyone wakes up to the fact that both parties are inherently corrupt, nothing's going to change. But the thing is, we're going to be bombarded with, oh, why Dr. Cornel West is a bad guy, why you should not vote independent. Oh, you're not going to vote at all. You're a horrible person. Well, guess what? Earn my vote. Earn it. Earn my respect. Because apparently, and this is an opinion, and hey, we're all entitled to an opinion. We all are. But when I see stuff like this, I get enraged. I get a little angry, you know? Just a little bit. Why leftists should work their little hearts out for Biden in 2024. Hey, all of you, for those of you who voted Democrat and woke up, and everyone else, hey, why not? I'm just going to make this inclusive. Inclusive for all. When the election comes around, are you going to work your little heart out by helping out Biden? Type 1 for yes, kid, because the Democrats said they're going to do things, and they're going to help us out, and I believe them. Now, excuse me while I put on my sunglasses to cover up that black eye, because they tell me they love me, but they promise they won't do it again. A type 2, no, man, I'm not going to help out Biden. It costs $300 to go outside. Yes, I'm going to keep on saying that. And don't argue with me about that. Like, what do you mean? It does cost $300. Watch. After this show, promise me, you're going to go outside, you're going to go to the gas station store, tally up how much money you spent. I'll be surprised if it doesn't add up to $300 or close to it, okay? Okay. Ask a Democrat with a long memory what the numbers 97,488 and 537 represent, and their face will twist into a grimace. Urgh. The first is a number of votes Ralph Nader received in Florida. Of course, because it's all Ralph Nader's fault. In Florida in 2000 as the nominee of the Green Party. The second is the margin in which George W. Bush was eventually certified the winner of the state, handing him the White House. Oh, F right off. Paul Waldman, was the rent due? Because I'm going to call this little opinion piece, the rent was due. Now, as President Biden gearing up for re-election, talk of a spoiler candidate from the left is again in the air. It is. That's unfortunate because here's the truth. The past 2.5 years under Biden have been a triumph for progressivism, even if it's not in most people's interest to admit it. Man, you know, you got to love these reporters because when you talk, you can see like a turd coming out of their freaking mouth. This was not the most people expected from Biden, who ran as a relative moderate in the 2020 Democratic primary. His nomination was a victory for pragmatism, with its eyes directed toward the center. Oh, man, the rent was due. The rent was due. But today, no one can honestly deny Biden's the most progressive president since Lyndon B. Johnson. Again, you do realize that Biden was against the civil rights movement, right? He didn't want his white kids, his black kids. He was against busing and desegregation. He was good buddies and pals with Strom Thurmond. Oh, Washington Post. Democracy dies in darkness. When will the American people learn? Democracy never works. His judicial appointments are more diverse Oh, yeah. Wow. Wonderful. Than any of his other predecessors. He has directed more resources in combating climate change than any other president, notwithstanding the opposition from the Supreme Court. His administration moves aggressively to forgive and restructure student loans. Stuff that's never going to happen. Bibbity bop. And in a story that is criminally underappreciated, his administration's policy reaction to the COVID-induced recession was revolutionary in precisely the way. yo, this is not only a rent was due. This is called giving sloppy toppy to the Democratic establishment. Paul, man, your opinion, you're entitled to it, but boy, oh boy, why don't you clean up your face just a little bit? It embraced massive government intervention to stave off the worst economic impacts, including handing millions of families monthly checks. Whoa! When do we get monthly checks? Families? When did you get them? Giving all kids in public schools free meals, boosting unemployment insurance, and extending health care to coverage to millions. When did this happen? God, it worked. While inflation rose, as it did worldwide, maybe it's because there's a war going on, the economy's recovery has been blisteringly fast. Hey, don't worry about your wallets. The economy's recovering fast. It took more than 6 years for employment rates to return to what they were before the Great Recession hit in 2008. But we surpassed January 2020 job levels by spring of 2022 and have kept adding jobs ever since. Wow. Man, dude. Holy cow. What the hell? I'm already looking at my live stream chat. Everyone's wondering, when did this happen? Look at this. Dana Fairbanks, one of our moderators, writes, what was this guy smoking while he wrote this? I like to try some. No, you don't, Dana. It might mess up your brain and you might turn into a Democrat again. All right. To the idealistic left. Hey, we're the idealistic left. That might feel like both old news and partial victory at best. What about everything supporters of Bernie Sanders have found so thrilling about the Vermont Center's vision of the future, from universal health care to free college? It's true. Biden was never... It's true. Biden was never going to deliver that. But to be honest, neither would Sanders had he been elected president. And that brings me to the heart of how people on the left ought to think about Biden and his reelection. So sit down, shut up, vote harder, poor people, don't ask questions, and take it up the wazoo. He has been exactly the kind of president the left should hope for. Oh, wonderful. So that whole thing was Roe v. Wade dying, no student debt forgiveness, because that didn't happen, Paulie, that didn't happen. Infrastructure, nothing. Hey, but we're giving billions of dollars in aid to this war in Ukraine. Okay, fair enough. Again, he has been exactly the kind of president the left should hope for. Not because he shares his agenda, but because his agenda is malleable. What the left needs as a president is someone who can get elected in a closely divided country whom progressives can influence. When did this happen? Biden is that president. His convictions are, shall we say, lightly held. He cares more about making deals and signing legislation than holding to progressive principles. But he has been open to the argument that adopting more progressive standards than Barack Obama or Bill Clinton ever dreamed of can be politically a smart move, in part to maintain good relations with the left side of his party, and presenting progressive policy to moderate common sense is one of Biden's skills. Oh God. This is somebody sitting down and said, oh, so you want to think for yourself? Here's why it's a bad idea. This is simply not to say that the left should strive its policy complaints and simply cheerlead for Biden's reelection. Pushing Democrats to do better is the left's job. Yeah, but they give us the middle finger. They spit in our face. AOC and Bernie are full-on Democrats. Jesus Christ. What more is in this crap? Holy cow. It would be nice to believe that with enough persuasion, the entire nation will see the light and come to agree with the left's agenda. But in reality, conservatives will not disappear. There will always be those who oppose the left's agenda. Sometimes a few more, sometimes a few less. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. But they will always be there. Turning America into a Nordic-style socialist democracy is, if not impossible, a spectacularly difficult task that would require decades of work with many setbacks along the way. The right president will not bring it about in 4 or even 8 years. Oh, wow. I've been in and around politics for many years, so we're talking to an expert, folks. And even among liberals, I've almost always been one of the most liberal people in the room. This is the kind of person. Paul is the kind of person that says, "Yeah, I have a lot of black friends." Or either that he has like the sign in his house. There is no hate in this house. There's no hate in this house. Or either that he has another sign like "Immigrants welcomed here," but not in front of my front porch. Yet, only since Biden's election have I realized that I'll probably never see the president as liberal as I like. Oh, wow. Okay. It's not easy. It's not an easy idea to make peace with, but it suggests a different way of thinking about elections as one necessary step in a long, difficult process. The further you are to the left, the more important Biden's reelection ought to be to you. It might require emotional and policy compromise, but for now, it is also the most important tool you have to achieve progressive ends. Right here, Paul. I better see middle fingers in the live stream chat. God damn, I can't believe I read that garbage. So I want to pull up this right here because, again, we got to remember that the Democrats are full of BS. This is a retweet from Nico House, good friend of the show. Democrats went, and this is from Ryan Knight. So, again, Nico House retweeted this out, or gave it a refire on Phoenix. Ryan Knight. Democrats went from screaming every day that Trump was going to start World War III to cheering on Biden as his administration dangerously escalates conflicts all over the world with Russia, China, and now Iran. I want to pull up this other fire on Phoenix from Ryan Knight. Cornel West is fighting for everything and more that Bernie Sanders and AOC claim to stand for, yet they endorse Biden over West, even though Biden is against every social policy they claim to stand for. They rather sheepdog for status quo Democrats than fight for real change. Very true. Now, look, I want to pull this up here because let's really ask ourselves, what can progressives really do in the Democratic Party? The answer is simple. Not a goddamn thing.
There is probably not a politically meaningful large, but still like a large number of people who were lefties who got pulled back into caring about Democratic Party politics by Bernie Sanders, who voted for Bernie in 2016, who got excited for AOC in 2018, who voted for Bernie in 2020. And people who said, look, the party is now seriously talking about Medicare for all and about a Green New Deal. And that's what sort of gave them the sort of reason to sort of get back into like, okay, I'm going to vote. I'm going to throw some money their way, etc. Those people now look at a party that does not talk about Medicare for all.
And so Paul, who wrote that little piece, that opinion piece, and we're all entitled to an opinion. Let's be clear here. When's the last time you've heard the Democrats really talk about Medicare for all or student debt forgiveness or ensuring that people aren't evicted from their homes and apartments or help out small business owners? Can anyone remember? Because I sure as hell can't.
Does not talk about a Green Deal anymore. And they say, okay, you don't represent my interests, so I'm not going to vote for your candidates. I'm not going to donate to your candidates. And what I think is insane is that the Pod Save America guys, the Eric Levitzes of the world, the whole sort of left punching sort of edifice out there. They say, oh, that's so selfish. That's so unrealistic. You're being so crazy. You're asking for too much. It's like, no, that's how it works, right? You as a voter say, these are my values and what I need from you. If you're not going to offer those things, I'm not going to vote for you. That's how politics works. And the notion that those people are like inherently fascists or whatever the fuck is like the complete. I mean, part of what made this also galling is that like a week before AOC went on Pod Save America, John Favreau, the head guy, was.
And remember, that interview was Pod Save America. I don't want to play it because I'll probably punch a screen, but let's be clear here. Let's be very, very clear here. AOC said that Biden was doing a good job. There were ebbs and flows. Also, how can we forget when Pod Save America was basically saying if you vote third party, you're helping Trump. That's it. That's it. That's it. You're helping out Trump. That's it. There's no working with liberals or vote blue no matter who. And if you hear anyone saying to you that by voting third party, you're stealing votes from the Democrats, you're stealing from Biden, third parties are stealing votes, you look them in the eye and say, how are third parties stealing votes when they never stole anything in the first place? Those votes are earned. Third parties earned those votes. Can't steal something that never belonged to the Democrats in the first place. And I encourage all of you to vote independent. Vote how you feel like. And I know we got diehard Democratic voters and Republican voters in here. I know we've had a few Trump supporters watch our show. Look, hey, if you want to vote for Trump, fine. Want to vote Republican, fine. I just encourage you guys to consider voting third party. And if you're not going to vote, fine. That's good too. But I'm not voting Democrat.
On his podcast, convulsing in laughter at the idea that he should have to appeal, that Biden should have to appeal to left voters. And the point is just like, it doesn't matter what you say. There's people who are not going to vote for your party because they're not giving them anything to vote for. Maybe you should think about that.
Now, I also want to pull this up here too, because this is something that good old Paulie needs to see firsthand. Because again, Democrats, and people who are vote blue no matter who. There's this, again, this is a fire, an awesome fire on Phoenix from Case Study QB, who's wrongly being censored, discussing the call for an establishment Democrat to challenge Joe Biden. So in other words, it doesn't matter. The Democrats are going to have their establishment pick. Dems worried about the Democratic ideology battle that can arise between the Bernie Sanders and the Joe Biden faction. I think they said, I meant this, yeah. So let's go ahead and play this.
Dare from Democratic Congressman Dean Phillips to other Democrats.
Democrats are telling me that they want not a coronation, but they want a competition. If we don't heed that call, shame on us. And the consequences, I believe, are going to be disastrous. So my call is to those who are well-positioned, well-prepared, of good character and competency. They know who they are, to jump in, because Democrats.
Well, it's not like Marianne Williamson and RFK Jr. are already in the race, but okay. See, again, the Democrats know that Biden is not a, reliable warhorse.
And the country need competition. It makes everything better. That's my call to them right now.
The panel is back with me. I mean, that's pretty amazing to have a sitting Democrat go out there, a House Democrat go out there. And he said he doesn't want to run, but that other Democrats should get in and run against a sitting president.
But boy, that's a can of worms that most Democrats that I talk to are afraid of opening. I mean, history will show that when a president is challenged in a primary, that is a problem for them. George H.W. Bush, Jimmy Carter, et cetera. Look, he says he doesn't want to run for president, hasn't ruled it out. Some of his fellow members, I was talking to a fellow Minnesota member who thinks that his ego has gotten a little bit inflated here because he's talking about this. Who knows? He has said early on, he's been saying for months that he thinks that the president's age is an issue. And
the president's age is an issue. People at the panel. He's an old man who doesn't know his ass from a hole in the ground, okay? He's senile, and we'll be talking about Biden being a senile old goat very soon in this show.
Other people should be a younger infusion of people, but it's harder to actually put a campaign together than it is to talk about it. So color me skeptical.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like Representative Phillips, his sentiment about Joe Biden is being talked about loudly. Like you said, Democrats might say some things behind closed doors, but they're not, going on TV and discussing it.
Everybody knows. Everybody's talking about it. Everyone sees it, CNN. The American people see it. Why do you think Trump is so popular right now, or at least that he's tied up or beating Biden? Because voters see it. And Biden's policies have done horrible damage to our economy, to people's livelihoods. This lit a fire under a lot of Trump supporters. Why do you think Trump's base is so enthusiastic for him? You think that somehow all those mediocre candidates in the Republican primary are going to inspire all those Trump supporters to support them? No. Republican voters want Trump. And the thing is, Democrats see that Biden, he can't do it. Now, to be clear here, again, Biden's an incumbent, and there's never once been a debate in a race where the incumbent is running. So that means the Democrats have to break the rules, and the Democrats won't break the rules because it doesn't benefit them.
But I do think he is representing perhaps some anxiousness among Democrats who are a little nervous about what a Biden and Trump matchup looks like. We know from polling that the two seem to be in a dead heat if both are the nominee. So that is making some Democrats a little nervous. But I'm not sure if his view is widespread.
I think if Donald Trump is not the Republicans' nominee, there may be a moment when everybody in the Democratic Party goes, "Oh, shouldn't we have had a conversation about other people running?" But until that moment, I don't.
Trump ain't going nowhere. He's not going anywhere. And look, if Trump's not in the Republican primary, he doesn't make the. I'll be surprised. I will be. Democrats. You know what you sound like when you're saying, "Oh yeah, finally this is it. The walls are closing in. Trump's going to face justice." You sound like a desperate person playing the lottery. "Oh, I'm going to win the lottery. I'm going to play the scratch-off ticket. I'm going to win. Oh no, I lost." Oh, you did? Stupid. That's again another reason why I'm not voting Democrat. So many people harping on maybe this is it. What's going to bring Trump in? No. Has Wile E. Coyote ever caught the Roadrunner? No. Never has.
See it, and it is true to the congressman's point that a lot of Democrats say they wish they had an alternative, but when you ask them who, there's zero consensus on anyone whose numbers come close to Joe Biden.
And let's just look.
Don't you ever speak for the American people, lady. This panel's filled with a bunch of brain dead morons.
Look at what Democratic primary voters think about the notion of nominating somebody else. 64% before in July of 2022. Now it's down to 50%. But that is half.
Right.
I mean, the feeling, the sentiment, and the reality might be very different things.
I mean, I think that if this happened, what it would mean is a full-on ideological discussion about the Democratic Party. So
100%.
you would have, from my ear falls out here. You would have,
Ugh, gross.
the essentially the same arguments we saw relitigated in the 2016 and 2020 campaign with Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden litigated in this. The Vice President Harris, would she be the front runner in this scenario?
No. I paused at a perfect time where he's just looking right at me. No, you jackass. Stupid people. Again, you know what? I don't even want to listen to this guy speak. So there you go. What can we take away from this? The Democrats are desperately clawing and scratching and begging people. Please don't think for yourself. Please support Biden. As the months go on, as we get closer to the end of 2023 and we enter into 2024, it's going to become abundantly clear to the Democrats that old man Biden just doesn't have enough gas in his tank, that he's going to be stuttering and stammering all over the place. And let's say there are no Democratic primary debates. Good, he dodges a bullet so he doesn't look senile. But that's not going to stop him having other accidents, falling down, looking confused. And let's say Trump is the Republican nominee. There's got to be a debate. There has to be a debate between the incumbent and the Republican challenger. What? Corporate media is going to do everything they can to make sure there's no debate between Trump and Biden? They're really going to do that? Possibly. Let Biden speak. When's Biden going to have a town hall? How is he going to keep himself together? Good luck, Democrats. That's your old war horse. You want to hold on to that? Fine. But I don't have to support it. And neither does my audience. Because at the end of the day, it's time for something different. And 50% of this population supports independence or identifies as an independent. And I think it's time that silent majority speaks out. Because what we have just doesn't work.